The day Desmond Rucker moved into his new home in Willow Ridge Meadows, a serene suburban neighborhood tucked away in Franklin, Tennessee, he thought he had finally arrived. After years of grinding in corporate IT, working overtime shifts, saving meticulously, and skipping indulgences most people took for granted, he'd finally unlocked a milestone that had always seemed slightly out of reach. The house was a stately two-story red brick colonial on a corner lot, with a wraparound porch, tall white columns, and a manicured lawn that looked like it belonged on a magazine cover. It was everything he'd imagined when he thought of success. But success, he would soon learn, came with its own silent enemies. On moving day, Desmond was too busy organizing boxes and coordinating movers to pay attention to the strange quiet of the neighborhood. No welcome basket, no wave, no polite knock on the door. Just distant eyes peeking through blinds, subtle glances from porches, conversations that fell silent as he passed. At first, he chalked it up to cultural differences. Maybe the folks here were just a bit more private. He hoped in time they'd warm up. But by the next morning, any illusion of that hope was gone. He had just brewed his first cup of coffee in the new kitchen when there was a knock on the door, sharp, deliberate. Standing there was a woman in her early 60s, hair in a tight bun, wearing a beige cardigan with a gold pin shaped like a house. "Good morning," she said with a clipped, cold tone. "I'm Delilah Whitmore, president of the Willow Ridge Meadows Homeowners Association." Desmond extended a hand. "Nice to meet you. I'm Des." "I know who you are," she cut him off, peering into the house behind him like she was inspecting for contraband. "I just wanted to review a few things." She handed him a heavy packet of papers, stapled and color-coded. "HOA regulations. I suggest you become familiar with them." Desmond nodded politely, skimming through the document. Lawn care, paint restrictions, garbage bin protocol, typical suburban HOA stuff. But the way she said it, the sharpness in her tone, carried something extra. It wasn't just about the rules. She pointed at the moving truck still parked outside. "That needs to be gone by this evening. I'll have it out as soon as I finish unloading." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "We also require trash bins to be placed out no earlier than 6 a.m. on collection day. I noticed yours were out last night." "I didn't put them out," Desmond replied calmly. "Probably the last owner." Her lips tightened. "Well, going forward, please be mindful. We have standards." Then, without waiting for a reply, she turned and walked away. Desmond watched her go, the coffee cooling in his hand. Maybe she was just particular. Every HOA had one of those. He wasn't going to let her ruin his new beginning. But the notices started coming. The first one was about a vehicle in his driveway, his own car. Then one about overgrown grass, barely an inch taller than regulation. Another cited a light bulb on his porch as being too bright for community aesthetic, despite it being the exact one the previous owner had used. Every morning, there was something in his mailbox. A new paper, a new violation, signed with a neat little HOA stamp. Delilah Whitmore didn't have to say another word. She was declaring war in ink. Desmond tried to keep his cool. He kept his yard pristine, changed the porch bulb, made sure his bins were in and out at the right time. But the scrutiny didn't stop. One night, he walked past a small cluster of neighbors gathered at the end of the cul-de-sac. They went quiet when they saw him. One woman offered a tight-lipped smile. Delilah stood among them, arms folded, murmuring to the others. This wasn't about garbage bins. It was about him. He decided to do a little experiment. The next collection morning, Desmond walked the entire neighborhood at 9 a.m. Trash bins still lined the curbs, some overflowing, others knocked over by wind. Yet none of those homes received notices. Just his. He took pictures, time-stamped them, and emailed the HOA board asking for clarification. No response. 2 days later, Delilah returned. No knock. She just stood there, arms crossed, holding a clipboard. Desmond opened the door slowly. "I need proof of ownership," she said. "Some residents have expressed concern that you may be renting in violation of our bylaws." Desmond blinked, caught off guard. "I own this house. I closed on it 3 weeks ago." She smiled, but it was all teeth. "Well, for record keeping, I need to see documentation." "You're free to pull public records yourself," he replied, voice calm. "I'd prefer it be submitted directly," she said. "And if I don't," she straightened, "then I'll escalate the matter to the HOA board." Desmond didn't give her the satisfaction. "I'll think about it," he said, then closed the door. That evening, she was back. this time with another board member, a man named Charles Everett, vice president of the HOA. Delilah handed him another notice. His wicker porch chairs and small table were non-compliant. Desmond had seen a dozen homes with worse. It was a clear message: we can make your life hell. But instead of backing down, Desmond got smart. That night, he walked through the neighborhood, documenting real violations: broken fences, unkempt lawns, peeling paint, abandoned bins. He compiled everything into a file and submitted it formally to the board. Within 24 hours, Delilah was back, flanked by Charles again. This time, her mask was cracking. "We determine which violations merit enforcement," Charles said weakly. "So mine do, and theirs don't." Delilah didn't answer. Instead, she issued a final warning about his porch chairs. Desmond stood still, arms folded. "I've read your entire rule book," he said. "Nowhere does it say furniture in good condition needs to be removed." "It's about uniformity," she said stiffly. "Or about who you want to drive out of this neighborhood." Charles shifted uncomfortably. Delilah tried to keep her composure, but Desmond saw it, the first flicker of doubt in her ally's eyes. A few days later, he received a formal complaint from a law firm. Delilah had reported him to the Davidson County Housing Authority. She claimed he wasn't a legal occupant, that neighbors had expressed concern. No names, no evidence, just legal harassment. But Desmond didn't panic. He called his lawyer, Joey Ramirez, a pit bull in a suit. In 72 hours, Joey dug up records, prepared a response, and added something else: a deed. 3 deeds, actually. Because while Delilah had been so busy trying to push Desmond out, she hadn't noticed her own home had gone into quiet foreclosure. Unpaid property taxes and HOA dues. The bank had quietly listed it at auction, and Desmond had quietly bought it. The next HOA meeting was standing room only. Delilah sat at the head of the table, flanked by the board. Desmond waited until she tried to speak, then stood and unfolded the deed to his home. "I own my house," he said. "Here's the proof." Then he pulled out the second deed. "This one's for 142 Maple Hill, a property 2 doors down, purchased as a rental." Then he unfolded the last one. "And this one is for 144 Maple Hill Lane, Delilah's address." Silence swept the room. Delilah went pale. "How?" "The foreclosure you ignored," Desmond said smoothly. "I was the buyer." A gasp rippled through the audience. Delilah clutched her paperwork like a lifeline. Desmond wasn't finished. "You tried to have me removed from my home, filed false complaints, harassed me, all while you were behind on your own dues." He placed another document on the table. "You owe the HOA $3,200 in unpaid fees. As the new legal owner of your house, I have the receipts." Someone in the back chuckled. Charles looked stunned. "Delilah, is that true?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Desmond leaned forward. "Now, would you like to talk about who really violated HOA rules?" A neighbor in the back muttered, "This is a disgrace." Lisa Tompkins, a board member who had always seemed neutral, raised her hand. "I move that we vote on Delilah's removal." Charles, still shaken, nodded. "Seconded." One by one, the hands went up. In less than 5 minutes, the woman who ruled Willow Ridge with an iron fist had been dethroned. Desmond walked out of that meeting without saying another word. The crowd parted as he passed. Delilah didn't show her face for 3 days. When she did, it was on Desmond's porch, alongside her husband, Russell. "I want to buy back my house," she said. "I'm not selling," Desmond replied. "We've lived there for 30 years, she said. "Then you should have paid your dues." Russell stepped forward. "We'll pay what you paid." Desmond laughed. "The house is worth $450,000. That's market value. That's robbery." "No, Delilah. That's justice." A month later, for sale sign went up at 144 Maple Hill Lane. Delilah and Russell moved to a small duplex across town. The neighborhood changed. The HOA became what it was supposed to be, a group that cared for the community, not just about control. Neighbors began to say hello. Some still looked away, too ashamed. But others tried to rebuild trust. One afternoon, Lisa came by with a plate of cookies. "I should have spoken up sooner," she said. Desmond took a bite. Better late than never. And with that, the man they tried to push out became the neighbor they never deserved, but were lucky to have. Because power doesn't come from rules or fear, it comes from knowing your worth and standing your ground when no one else will.